evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. God of graciousness, we pray that you share your favor with us, especially in this season and as we gather to do the city's business. Give us wisdom as we make decisions for this city. We ask your blessing upon all of our employees. Keep them safe and diligent to their task. Grant peace and tranquility as we do the work committed to our care. And all those in agreement said, Amen.
Amen. Yes, recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the roll, please.
Sherry Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Louis Tonsfire, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5.
Here.
Ward Crook, Ward 6. Here.
Thank you, Connie. First order of business tonight is the approval of our council meeting minutes from June the 4th. Council, you've had these as well in advance of tonight. Had a chance to review them. If there are any additions or corrections, now's the time to make those noted. If not, a motion's in order.
Mayor looked over the minutes, and I do not see anything that needs to be deleted or added. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved unanimously. We have a rather beefy agenda tonight. We'll get right to it with our budget ordinance for FY 15-16. Mr. Renhardt.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I do have a presentation if you'd like to see it. I can have Richard put it on the screen if you want. If not, then I'll go ahead and get started
Would this be the same presentation that you gave us 2 weeks ago?
with the amended number, yes.
Does anybody feel like they need to see that again? Everybody in the audience fine without seeing it again? Please proceed without.
Thank you. The proposed budget has been amended from the June 4th meeting by $394,650. This is comprised of some miscellaneous income coming in from the JDA for past bond payments. It was unexpected at the time the publishing of the first reading was done. The expenses are all set with that in the following areas. It only affects the general fund and the property and casualty expenses, insurance expenses that were previously deleted or have been added in, along with the maintenance of the Church Street Bridge. And the third item was the planning and development software. We increased the funding on that also. Again, the total budget is total budget is $145,616,280. The increase that I would discuss was $394,650 from the first reading. I recommend the approval of the amended proposed budget totaling $145,616,280.
Thank you. Any questions for Tom on this proposal, on this recommendation? Please remember, council, that with the change, any motion should be to approve as amended. And I will leave it in your hands for any further discussions, questions, or clarification. If not, a motion.
Mayor, question. We didn't have any previous information on the bridge, Tom. How much is allocated to that, and what kind of improvements?
Total monies allocated is about $123,000, and that will be for the needed painting of it. As you can see, it's starting to begin to rust a little bit. I believe the DOT has talked to Public Works about getting some maintenance done to it, and that was one of the items that was in the original budget but was taken out for lack of funding.
If you go down and look at the green metal that's under the bridge, you can see rust that's along the edges. It's not anything to do with structural integrity yet. That's why we took it out of Tommy's budget. We didn't think that we really needed it, but with the luxury of being able to add the money back, it was something we thought we ought to do.
Thank you.
So just those green pieces of metal that are under the bridge.
Any other questions or discussion?
Motion to approve the budget as amended.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Tom.
Yes, Your Honorable Mayor and Council, the second reading for the ordinance change regarding gas rates. Two quick changes that are being proposed in the budget tonight. First one is the increase in the fixed monthly base rate. Those rates are changing as follows. The residential customers are going from $8 a month to $10 a month. Commercial customers are going from $10 to $15 a month. Industrial customers are going from $25 to $100 a month, and transport fees from $100 a month to $200 a month. These fees have not been adjusted since 1994. Second proposed increase is the increase in the capital improvement piece for the gas department. Current rate is 7.8 cents per decatherm. It's going to 17.8 cents per decatherm. Again, these have not been changed since 1994. The monies raised by these will be used for the construction of the Transco meter station, and I recommend approval of this proposed gas changes to begin July the 1st, 2015.
Okay, and Gary, I've already forgotten
Yeah, I remember.
the total number that you gave me just a moment ago. If you'll step forward, just so that people have a question about how much
Yeah.
will the average residential customer see?
After last meeting, you'd send a little email and.
Yeah, and it's $2.60 average per month.
Thank you.
Okay.
Gary, I have a question. This still makes us among the lowest?
Yes, ma'am. It's about $31.20 a year for residential, and we're $100 and something lower than the lowest marketer on ABL.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any discussion or question for Tom on this utilities ordinance for the gas rates? If not, motion would be in order, or any discussion if needed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Tom.
Yes, sir, Honorable Mayor and Council, this is the second reading for the ordinance change regarding the water and sewer rates. Again, two proposed changes have been initiated. First one is a 5% increase in residential water and sewer customers. This is basically a 7 cents per 100 gallons or cubic feet consumed for city residents and 15 cents per 100 cubic feet consumed for outside residents. The estimated increase for the residential water and sewer customers will be about $5.25 a month on 7,500 gallons consumed. And the second change is a proposed 5% increase in the base monthly water and sewer rates. Current rates are $7.25 a month. They will be increasing to $7.61 a month. This is an increase of about 36 cents a month. I recommend approval of the proposed water and sewer rate increases to begin July the 1st, 2015, and we will still remain one of the lowest water systems in the surrounding areas.
Okay. Questions, comments, or discussion on this item? And if not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Lovell, I believe you have the next item regarding the amendment to the fireworks ordinances.
Yes, Mayor, as y'all recall from our last meeting, the state of Georgia in its infinite wisdom decided to allow fireworks everywhere in the state with very little regulation. These ordinances are amending our ordinances to be in compliance with the new state law. I believe the chief does have a fact sheet and informational press release they are releasing on it, but in a nutshell, the only thing we are really allowed to regulate anymore is what zoning occurs in.
Okay. And what we have that was added at our last meeting, this is the second reading of these ordinances. There's actually 4 ordinances that we've lumped together as one, all relating to the same topic. And so if you were to make a motion, if you would just make the motion to approve all 4 of those items, I'd appreciate that. And if there's any questions, I'm sure Chief would be able to answer those, or at least give you an answer.
Yeah, I've got a question of Keith. Within this ordinance, it says issue an approval, City of Cartersville Fire Department will issue an approval or denial within 5 business days of receipt of the application. If nothing is done, is it an automatic acceptance? I mean, if...
Yes, and there's actually nothing we can disapprove one for. I mean, it's in our ordinance, but frankly, as long as they're in a general commercial zone, there's very little we can disapprove them for. I mean, there's a couple of building codes that they would have to meet under the building codes that were in effect 4 years ago, because apparently the new building codes are too restrictive for fireworks operations for the legislature to allow them to be effective. But there's It does say disapprove, but there's very little in there that we could actually practically disapprove an application for.
Any other questions or discussion?
Then I'll make a motion to approve all 4 ordinances.
Thank you, Councilman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Opposed.
Are you opposed? I'm sorry, any opposed? I'm sorry, I apologize. So the motion carries 5-1. We have the first reading of our alcohol ordinance. Mr. Menino.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. The current alcohol ordinance does allow for sale of growlers. The city does have one retail establishment that does sell these growlers, and with that, the retailer has inquired into the feasibility of malt beverage tasting as it relates to the growler sales. This would be similar to the same concept as the wine tasting guidelines that y'all have adopted. And with that, it was brought before the Alcohol Control Board. Keith had researched several ordinances and how other folks do this. And with that, the Alcohol Control Board did recommend your approval of this amendment.
Okay. Any questions for Randy on this item? Do we have any interest, I'm sorry, do we have any other interest from other companies or any similar type businesses for locating in the area that your department's aware of?
In relation to growler sales?
Yeah.
Well, we had the one company that came in here that operates 1 or 2 out of Marietta that was looking to locate here, went through the process, meeting with the Alcohol Control Board. We looked at different ordinances, went through the whole process of getting the ordinance amended to allow for the sales, but they have not come back. So again, we have the one retail sales outlet, I believe Muscadines, that does have that. And the proprietor of that establishment is here if you had any questions about his particular operation.
Thank you. All right, any discussion or questions on this item? And of course, first reading of the ordinance, we won't vote on it tonight. We'll take it up for final consideration at our July 2nd meeting. Our next item, also a first reading, this is T15-02. Mr. Menino, if you'll get us started on that.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is directly related to the fireworks legislation that Mr. Lovell explained before and y'all have acted on. This is the only allowance for regulation that the state did give, and it is to the location of commercial fireworks retail sales facilities. With that, again, the state did allow for us to say what zone and what zoning district could go in meeting with the fire chief and the fire department for this type of facility. General commercial was the best location for that, or the most typical location that it would fit in. And with that, we had added a definition of commercial fireworks retail sales facilities and placed those particular facilities in the general commercial zone. We did bring this to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this text amendment.
Okay. Any further clarification needed by council at this time?
Sorry, if this won't be voted on until after the 4th?
No, our next council meeting is July 2nd, so it will actually be in place when July 3rd hits.
Can people
But this
sell?
is dealing directly with the retail sales that meet a certain definition set by the state. So, and additionally, the tent sales that will not be allowed until January 1st of next year, which was explained in the other ordinance that the fire department we're dealing with, are a little bit separate issue. But yes, this will not be approved until July 2nd.
Yeah, and if anybody actually files applications or anything, the new state law goes into effect July 1st. You know, we do have 4 or 5 days to review those applications, and this will then go into effect on July 2nd. So this will be the zones they will have to go in, so.
Yeah, we are a day late.
Come on.
But we didn't think y'all wanted to meet on Wednesday, but.
No, that's okay. All right.
Okay, good? Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Randy. That's first reading for T-1502. Again, we'll take that up on July the 2nd. And next we got Z-1501.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is a proposed change in conditions. This is a rezoning from R10 with conditions to R10 with conditions. Autumn Canyon subdivision, which is approximately 79 lots on the south side of Center Road, adjacent to I-75 development, or it was rezoned originally back in 2005. It also included property on the north side of Center Road and several enumerated conditions. Within the original conditions that were placed on the property, condition number 3 dealt with a location of some recreation facilities, swimming pool, tennis court, and clubhouse, which the original location for the tennis courts and clubhouse, I believe, were on the north side of the road to begin with anyway. With that, the applicant has purchased this 37.1 acres on the south side of Center Road in a location up in the top of the subdivision where originally a swimming pool was anticipated. The applicant has put in a pretty hefty playground and pavilion area, which Richard has shown some pictures of right there, and would like to amend the condition or eliminate condition number 3 of the original zoning conditions. Now, this is just on the south side. Those conditions will remain for now on the property on the north side of Center Road. And with that, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this text amendment, or excuse me, this change in condition of zoning.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on this item?
Mayor, just one with Randy, please. So in 2005, we said we are willing to rezone this property from R20 to R10, and which means if it's a conservation subdivision, smaller lots, and then if they will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
yes, the applicant proposed the conditions that were, or a majority of the conditions that were placed on there. Again, he was proposing some recreation facilities with, again, the tennis courts and the clubhouse were originally slated on the north side of Center Road in that portion of the development, which is now gated off by the city out there. And on the south side, they did anticipate a swimming pool going in there. When the original developer was doing this portion, he did put in the parking lot and I believe did start the pool facility before the economy took a nosedive. And there were no lots under construction out there for several years.
I guess my point is nothing's really changed except just no swimming pool.
That is correct.
There's still a lot
It's
of...
still a conservation subdivision. Richard had showed in the overall subdivision. You can see the areas that are not included in lots out there are part of the overall subdivision development. They will remain undeveloped and open space for that particular residential development.
Are they buildable? Is any of the open space buildable? Was that part of
Well,
conservation
it was laid
subdivision?
out, so I mean, right now it's not buildable anyway. The way they laid the subdivision out, you know, it could have been buildable if they did the whole thing a different way, but because of what they had agreed to in doing the conservation development, they laid it out the way they did. And so it's no longer developable because it is part of the overall structure of that development.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Randy. Again, we'll take this up for final consideration at our meeting on July 2nd. Mr. Lovell, you have a resolution for the commencement date for our TAD relative to the East Main Street redevelopment plan.
Yes, Mayor, this is the last of the series of documents we need to do to update the proposed TAD for the Kroger site on West Main Street to commence December 31st of 2015, as opposed to the original date of December 31st, 2014, due to the delay in their EPD permitting process. It has already been approved by the county, and the school board has also approved, and you are the last in the dominoes of approval.
Okay. So if there's any discussion, we can have that now, and if not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Grove, you have the next item.
Yes, this is the annual fee or dues fee from Georgia Municipal Association for the city. It includes a base fee and then an amount based on population. I think if memory serves me right, it's within $5 of last year. It is over $5,000, so it does require council approval, and I recommend that to you.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And Mr. Reinhardt, we get to see more of you for the next couple, and then we'll see you again later.
Honorable Mayor and Council, this is the contracts for performing services. These are annual contracts for performing services for those agencies that awarded funds in the yearly annual budget. The dollar amounts recommended is the same as last year. I recommend approval of the attached contracts for performing services in the fiscal year 2016 budget.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? And if not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Please continue on, Tom.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I bring to you tonight software from Invoice Cloud for electronic bill presentment and payment. In a nutshell, it will enhance and improve the online methods of payment offered by the city. We'll also be able to offer e-billing, which is receiving your statements to the internet. We'll also be able to offer payment options through smartphone and tablet, which we currently do not offer. I recommend the contract with Invoice Cloud be approved. Final contracts have been received and reviewed by the city attorney.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? And if not, a motion.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Grove?
Yeah, this is the contract with the Optimist Club, and it's got the JRM contract integrated into it by Exhibit. Basically, this covers the 4th of July Festival at Dellinger, deals with the number of police officers, firefighters, ambulance, fire truck, and last year you increased the amount paid for fireworks to $4,000. The parking fee is split between the city and the Optimists, and it also integrates the JRM. Are we clear on the fee? We were talking about
There's a typo in the version before you in section 1, paragraph 8. It says the fee is $2 and to be jointly split. How that should read is the fee for parking is $5 and the city receives $1 of that. And I will make that revision and give that over to Connie for execution in the morning.
Does a motion need to reflect the
It
amendment?
should,
Thank you.
yes.
your approval, that's recommended.
Thank you, sir.
Make a motion to approve with the amended change of parking being $5 with a retention of $1.
Second that.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And Mr. Porter, you have the next item, please.
Yes, Mayor and Council, bring before you the renewal for our property and casualty and workers' compensation insurance. Apex Insurance and Watkins Insurance Agency submitted the proposals for the renewal. On the property and casualty insurance, the number I presented to you in the agenda package was $394,148. I got the number from Terry Watkins for the additional cost of 2 new fire engines we'll be getting in early July. That new number with those 2 new fire engines is up. It's going to be total $396,644. I recommend approval of that budget amount, as well as $49,914 for our workers' compensation and another $9,900 for our third-party administrator to process our third-party claims for our workers' compensation.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Porter on this item?
And Dan, how does this compare with last year?
It's about a 2% increase on the property and casualty, and the workers' comp is going to remain flat. It was negotiated rate last year.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Chief Culpepper, you've got the next couple, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item we have is our USA software support agreement. That's our records management system. It is due in August. We'd like to get that contract approved by, signed by you, and we're asking for approval from the council to do that. That is in the amount of $28,876.30, and that is a budget item.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is the Leads Online agreement. Mr. Lovell is working on some amendments to the ordinance relative to that, but this is the agreement that allows us to put this into place and get the process going. We have met with the vendors, and we have taken some feedback and made some adjustments on our part to make it more palatable to them, make it easier for them to use so that we get greater buy-in. We believe this will serve the city well. This will be a benefit to us in investigating crime and returning property to its rightful owners. And we're asking that you authorize the mayor to sign that agreement so that we can get it into place.
And basically, once the agreement is in place, it allows us to access the leads information for people who are wanting to do it voluntarily. From this time forward, at your next two council meetings, you'll be approving the changes to the ordinance that we received input on from the pawn shop owners themselves. And then after y'all adopt it, the chief will then give somebody about a 30 or 45-day grace period for them to get up to speed and get everything ready. And then probably around 1st of September, I would imagine, it'll go into effect for everyone to be using.
May I have a question?
Sure.
Chief, how do we deal with other counties if someone has stolen something in this city, in this county, and taken it to Cobb? Do we have a way to talk with that sheriff's department, that police department?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, all we have to do is contact them, and they'll, sometimes they'll go pick it up, or they'll notify the business, and they'll hold it, and then we'll send somebody down to pick that up and return it back to our possession so that we can locate the owners.
And also, Diane, there are really two primary companies that do this. One is Leads, and I forget the name of the other one, but it's who the county uses. And all of the jurisdictions around us will be reporting their information online to one of those companies. And through the county, we have access to review the information that is from their company, and then those who use the one that the city uses will be able to review their information on there.
And we
so
have,
it will sort of be comprehensive for our region.
and we've discussed that with the county about sharing that information so that we bolster each other's. And Leads Online is the company that the GBI has selected as the scrap metal vendor for this type of program.
Good, thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any other discussion or questions on this? If not, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Hasselbrock, you got the next one?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Electric Department comes before you tonight asking you to allow us to purchase various items of equipment for the big project, Project Big. And we sent out requests for multiple vendors, and in lieu of coming to you with 13 separate items, we rolled everything into one. And we're asking you that you approve the purchase of this equipment for the low bidders. In all cases, we chose the low bidders. So this money, there's total of the materials is $415,129.68, and we've budgeted for this. We saw it. We were hopeful that we would be able to come before you and purchase this equipment, but we were successful in that. And we're asking you that you approve the purchase for these low vendor equipment, low vendors.
Okay. Any discussion?
I didn't hear, did you say this, this is under budget? Or did you have a budget for this?
It is budgeted.
Yes, it's budgeted.
Yes.
Was this about where we anticipated, or did
Well,
we have any sort
yes,
of
we
expectation?
went out asking the vendors what it would, what the cost of the products would be, and they gave us quotes for 30 days, and these are the 30-day quotes.
And actually, some of this is rolled into next year, and we're going to use your reserve to fund it.
Right.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Not a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Don. It is. Mr. Sanders and then Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. We would like to purchase 400 garbage carts. These are 95-gallon garbage carts, and we had several bidders. The low bidder was Waste Quip. That's the Toter brand of cart, and that's a picture of what the cart looks like. The low bid was $19,053.28, and it is a budgeted item.
May I have a question, Tommy?
Go right ahead.
Tommy, this garbage can and the others that everyone has, it should be at the street. How for our new truck? It should be handled toward the street.
No, ma'am. The handle should be pointing toward your house. Just push it out to the street and let go of it. And and it does need to be about 2 or 3 feet clear on either side. So if you put it right beside your mailbox, that can cause problems for the grabber. So if there's a place that's flat, that's where you've got a little bit of clearance, that's the ideal spot to put it.
So handle toward the house.
That's correct.
Thank you.
A lot of the carts have arrows embossed on them that point out toward the street. So if you
That's
just,
what those are for?
yeah, follow the arrows.
Well, it's a change for people, and it's good to remind them.
Yes, we can still dump it if it's turned the other way. But what happens a lot of times is when you dump it, a bag may get caught on the lid, and then when you bring it back to set it down, sometimes that bag on the lid gets thrown out into the yard or thrown back into the can. And we can grab it and dump it if it's facing the wrong way, but there are potential issues sometimes.
Anybody have 2 or 3 more questions?
We've been practicing, we're getting better every time. I think we've about
Good job.
got it mastered, thank you. We didn't get a memo last week.
Thank you for your understanding
really
and
tried.
cooperation.
No other discussion or questions are allowed. A motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Hip, hip, hooray. Mr. Jones, you're up. And actually, as Bob makes his way to the front, council, I'll go ahead and take care of this now. We will have, I believe, 3 items to add to the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to add those 3 items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
3 items added. Bob, if you'll take care of the one that's already on the agenda, then we'll add the item while you're up here.
Yes, sir. First up, we have had a bearing failure in our number 2 pump in the primary at the wastewater plant. This is essentially a proprietary replacement part. It's only available from the original vendor. That bearing price from them is $12,250. It's from Evoqua Water Technologies, and would ask your approval of that purchase so we can get that piece of equipment functioning again.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now, the item that was added to the agenda relative to your needs.
Yes, sir. Right next door to the number 2 pump is the number 4 pump, and it has an edging issue that essentially what it does is it makes the pump inefficient, and we need to be able to replace that edging because now that we've lost the number 2 pump, we don't have adequate capacity to deal with a high flow event that occurs with some of these heavy afternoon rainstorms that we have. We took prices for that. Southern Machine was the only one to return a bid of $23,000. This is $400 more than the exact same project they did for us on the number 1 pump in 2013, so we feel like that's a reasonable price and would ask your approval of that amount.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? If not, a motion is in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
you.
unanimously. Thank you, Bob. Mr. Reinhardt, you got it once again.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I bring before you tonight a request for audit services extension. If you remember, in June of 2014, I brought to the council an agenda item for audit services to hire the firm Car Riggs and Ingram LLC. At that time, there was some discussion After discussion, the council elected to hire them on a one-year contract basis. I would like to extend that for a 3-year additional contract basis. The only negative issue that we had last year was the fact that the report was filed a little bit late to the State Department of Audits. I've since then talked with the audit firm, and they've assured me that it was nothing that the city had done wrong. They also assured me it would not happen again. In the kindness of their heart, I guess you could say, they did discount our fee last year by about $5,000, so it was not the total cost or total price that we had agreed upon. I am asking for the council to approve an extended 3-year contract at the total price of $41,500 per year, with an additional cost of $3,500 for a single audit, if a single audit is necessary.
Questions for Tom on this item? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And Tom, while you're up there, the other item that we added relative to the one you need to replace, to present about Cogsdale?
Yes, sir. This is also a added item for a business process review done by Cogsdale. Cogsdale is our current software provider for CSM and other software issues. Over the course of the last couple of years, we've had problems with the performing of the software. Staff would like to have that performance looked at. In talking with Cogsdale representative, excuse me, it was mentioned that they have a process, the business process review, that basically they'll send an employee down for a week. They'll sit with all the customer service folks on our side, learn what they're processing, how they're processing, the type of software, the parts of the software that they're using. After they do that, they'll take it back to the office, all the information. They'll take it back to the office and write a report. Our hope is that the result will show that we are using the software efficiently. However, I'm not really sure that will happen. We also hope that the insight will be given so that it shows that the data that we're using out of the software has been entered correctly. In order to prevent us from having to buy expensive software, this is a I guess you could call it semi-fixed. The cost of this is $18,000 plus travel versus buying new software upwards of $300,000 plus. I recommend that the city contract with Cogsdale to complete the business process review of our customer service area at a cost of $18,000 plus travel expenses. And this, the information that you have in front of you has been reviewed. The contracts have been reviewed by a city attorney and approved by him.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Tom on this?
Just one real quick, and it's sort of a picky question, but in regards to the expenses, what do they expect that to be? I mean, if you read through them, they're pretty thorough as to basically we're going to pay for everything.
It's unfortunately for us, and I've talked with the folks, and they basically have said that they will limit or try to limit the expenses, but we will basically pick up their hotel, their airfare, their taxi, whatever else they have, meals, so forth and so on.
Have we ever had a review like this before?
To my knowledge, no.
And
No,
we've
I
had
know
this
that.
software how long?
I'm sorry?
How long have we had Cogsdale? 2000?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Jay, some of the things that, like I can tell you for the theater, there's usually inspections and things that need to be done. I think just from an industry standard, that's kind of where, if you're going to contract with them, that they're part of that. They're either going to tell you, break it out and say you're going to pay for it, or they're going to include it in the price where you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
One of the things was don't expect a receipt. Like, hey, we're going to bill you, we're not going to show you receipts.
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Now, I can try to negotiate that back in and say, we want to have receipts, but I got my doubts whether they're going to allow that or not.
They've been reasonable in the past. They've only charged around a couple $1,000. We've had them out several times. We've had software since like 97, 99,000. They've had to upgrade our software over the years.
Tom, this is,
I mean, as opposed to putting in a whole new system, who knows? If it costs $300,000 to put a whole new system, then it probably costs us $20 to get them down here.
Yeah.
Well, I think the issue is if after this audit, I think this is a way of trying to have them preserve Because I think over the last couple of years, there have been some discussions, or at least investigating other software packages that, and so this is just as kind of a way of them going through and making sure that we're maximizing what we're getting out of their product.
Correct.
Excuse me. Any other questions or discussion? Carrie, did you have something? Sorry.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. A motion would be in order at this point if there's no other questions or discussion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Rather apprehensively approved unanimously. All right, then, tonight we have the first look at our citizen survey results.
That's right.
And Mr. Grove will handle that.
Tom Q is no longer here, so I've got to talk about these. We've done these 03, 05, 07, 09, 11, 13, and now 15. They've got a 6% margin of error around the figures. Again, these are citizen perception. It's not rumor or the last guy to call you. These are actually scientific things that people think about the community. First piece is community characteristics. These are general. This is the percentage rated good to excellent. You can see the bar across the bottom gives you the comparison of the years. The latest year would be the gray line that runs across the top of each one of these. These are all similar to national norm, and I don't need to read those for you. You can see each one of the areas.
May I ask if all this is on our newly designed website?
It will be soon though, right?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide. This is safety. Again, a similar type setup. This is percentage good to excellent, so you can see they're all very high, but in the normative sense, these are all similar to the national norm. 15 was the first time we asked for overall feeling of safety. Mobility, this one's a little different than the others. These are all similar to the norm except public transportation, and this would be predictable, I guess. When you're comparing to other cities, ours is below the norm because we really don't have much other than that is available from county. Overall ease of travel is a new one. That's similar to the norm, as are the other ones. Natural environment, air quality, cleanliness, overall environment. These are all similar to the norms that I do recall in past years, which almost looks a little odd to me. Air quality was always one that was below the norm, and that's swung out there to 71%. I guess if anything, looks like an outlier in what I've seen that does. Is this the last piece? Built environment, public places, that's a new one. These are all similar to the norm except for affordable quality housing is above, which is interesting.
Even though the number went down, we're still above the national norm.
New development and overall built environment. And that's it. And we will get those on the website, and you all do have PDFs that were emailed to you. If anybody would like a hard copy of this, please let me or Rebecca know, and we'll get those for you.
You sent a PDF of that slide
All,
presentation?
not the slides, but the actual survey itself.
Right, gotcha.
If you'd like a slide presentation, we do that too.
Okay, thank you. And now we will conclude with the monthly financial report. We'll conclude the Tom Reinhardt Show.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Tonight we'll be looking at the financial report for April 2015 and comparing it to April 2014. In the general fund, revenues increased over last year by about $1.5 million. Expenses have increased by $649,000. This is largely due to increased personnel expenses and increased capital expenses. 3 years of revenue I look at on a monthly basis. Local option sales tax were increased there by over last year by about $108,000. Police fines and forfeitures were decreased down in that area by about $16,000. And building permits and inspections were increased there by about $136,000. The water and sewer fund revenues increased over last year by $1.3 million. Expenses decreased by $2.1 million. This is due mainly to decreased operating expenses, decreased debt service expenses, and decreased capital expenses. In the gas fund, revenues decreased by last year by $1.2 million, while expenses have decreased by $1.8 million. This is due mainly to decreased costs of purchased gas and decreased capital expenses. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $2.8 million. Expenses increased by $1.7 million. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased cost of purchased electricity, and increased capital expenses. In the stormwater fund, revenues increased over last year by $36,000. Expenses increased by $558,000. This is due to increased personnel, increased operating, and increased capital expenses. In solid waste fund, revenues increased over last year by $8,000, and expenses increased by $165,000. This is due mainly to decreased personal expenses coupled with increased operating expenses and increased capital expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last year by $76,000. Expenses have decreased by $96,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses and increased operating expenses. That is my report for the evening.
And not to lengthen it, but my real quick and dirty on this, if you look at the month of April 15, general fund, electric, stormwater, and solid waste were in deficit for the month. The only two in deficit for the year are stormwater and solid waste, and cash is off about $440,000 from where it was in March.
Okay.
And we're okay with that $500,000 increase in expenses in stormwater? That's just a 1 month thing, or?
It's an ongoing project that they've finished up. We do have extra money in another checking account earmarked for special projects that we will move over. However, when that money is moved over, it will not be showing as a revenue item because those revenues were classified as revenue in previous years.
Okay, but it'll cover it.
Yes.
And on solid waste, we bought the new truck, but we haven't received our reimbursement yet from the lease pool. So, so when we receive our reimbursement, which is $240,000, so we'll be in the plus, $100,000 or so.
Good.
So that's sort of deceptive. Both of those, stormwater will be even, and solid waste will be on the plus side.
I wasn't finding fault, I
Great.
was just pointing out something.
Well, usually when there's a swing like that, they usually even out. I just wasn't
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
when it would. So.
Okay. Anything else for the financial report? Thank you. And as is usually the case, I did make an error throughout the in this meeting. I failed to add the third item or to address the third item that was added to the agenda, which is relative to the Leak Mounds easement release, and Mr. Lovell will handle that for us.
Yes, Mayor. The Department of Transportation, in their review of our Leak Mound project, decided they did not like the special stipulations that the property owners requested us put in the easement. So we now will have to quit claim those easements back to the property owners and then get new easements from them with a separate agreement which has those special stipulations in it. Therefore, I am asking y'all to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the quitclaim deeds and agreements that are necessary to accomplish such purpose.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to do that.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Is there anything else that needs to come before council this evening?
Well, Mayor, now that you mention it, I just very briefly wanted to give y'all an update. I attended the construction staff meeting this Tuesday, and Mr. Goss did submit new plans for the old bank building that did not include having any impact on the parking behind it, which will be slowly going through the review process. And I know y'all are all interested in that at the last couple of meetings, so I wanted to give you that update.
It may require, when it gets into the construction process, though, some closure of Irwin.
Could potentially, if he actually goes forward with the project, they'll be asking for probably about a week closure of Irwin Street at that intersection. And they probably will need a couple of variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals due to some site distance things and other things. That's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and Historic Preservation Commission approval.
Well, that shouldn't be very difficult. Any other thing else that needs to come before council? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Adjourn.